Have you ever stopped to wonder how close we are to completely eradicating one of the world's most devastating diseases? In this article, we'll dive deep into the current status of polio vaccination around the globe, exploring the remarkable progress we've made, the remaining challenges, and what lies ahead in the fight against this crippling disease. But that's not all. Stick with us until the end, and you'll discover actionable insights on how global health efforts are not just tackling polio, but paving the way for a healthier, disease-free future for everyone. Before we get started, I'd really appreciate it if you could support this effort by liking and sharing this article. Your engagement helps spread awareness about critical health issues like polio. And if you enjoy this content, don't forget to leave a comment letting us know your thoughts. Together, we can help create a more informed and empowered global community. Let's dive in. Let's take a moment to appreciate just how far we've come in the fight against polio. Back in the mid-20th century, polio was one of the most feared diseases in the world. It paralyzed or killed hundreds of thousands of children each year. But thanks to the introduction of polio vaccines, like the oral polio vaccine and the inactivated polio vaccine IPV, the situation has completely transformed. Today, we're on the brink of making polio history. Over 99% of polio cases have been eliminated globally, thanks to decades of tireless work by organizations like the World Health Organization, WHO, UNICEF, and the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, GPEI. Entire regions have been certified polio-free. Think about it. Europe, the Americas, and the Western Pacific no longer have cases of wild poliovirus. That's millions of children who have been spared from the devastating effects of this disease. It's also worth mentioning that countries like India have achieved something truly extraordinary. India, once considered the epicenter of polio, has been polio-free since 2011. This was made possible by massive vaccination drives that reached every corner of the country, even the most remote villages. It shows what's possible when governments, healthcare workers, and communities come together for a common cause. So, while the progress is undeniable, the fight isn't over yet. There are still challenges that need to be addressed before we can achieve complete eradication. And that brings us to the regions still affected by polio. Now, let's talk about where polio is still a problem. Unfortunately, the disease hasn't been completely eradicated just yet. Wild poliovirus still circulates in two countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. These are the last strongholds of the virus, and the reasons for this are complex. First, there's the issue of access. In certain parts of Afghanistan and Pakistan, political instability and conflict make it incredibly difficult for vaccination teams to reach children. Imagine trying to deliver vaccines in areas where safety is a constant concern. It's no easy task. Second, misinformation and vaccine hesitancy have become major obstacles. In some communities, myths and misconceptions about vaccines have led to resistance. Some people fear that the vaccine could have harmful effects, while others distrust health campaigns altogether. Overcoming this kind of skepticism takes time, education, and trust building. But it's not just wild poliovirus we're fighting. In areas with low vaccination rates, we're seeing outbreaks of vaccine-derived poliovirus, or CVDPV. This happens when the weakened virus from the oral polio vaccine mutates and starts spreading in communities with poor immunization coverage. It's a rare but real problem that highlights the importance of maintaining high vaccination rates everywhere. And let's not forget the financial and logistical challenges. Eradicating polio isn't just about delivering vaccines. It's also about maintaining surveillance systems to quickly detect any new cases, training health workers, and ensuring that no child is left behind. And despite all these challenges, there's hope. Governments, NGOs, and local communities are working harder than ever to address these issues. For instance, New tools like novel oral polio vaccines are being developed to minimize the risk of vaccine-derived outbreaks. Plus, vaccination campaigns are becoming more innovative, using digital tracking and community engagement to improve their reach. So while polio still lingers in some parts of the world, the end is in sight. With continued effort and collaboration, we could be the generation that finally puts an end to this disease for good. Types of polio vaccines in use. Let's break down the two main types of vaccines being used in the fight against polio. Each has its own strengths and weaknesses, and together they've been critical in getting us this far in eradicating the disease. First, there's the oral polio vaccine, or OPV. This is the one you might have seen being given as drops in a child's mouth. It's been a game changer in polio eradication because it's so easy to administer. No needles needed, just a few drops. What makes OPV unique is that it contains a weakened form of the poliovirus. Once a child gets the vaccine, their body builds immunity, and here's the cool part. The weakened virus can actually spread to others through contact, indirectly immunizing people around them. This creates something called herd immunity, which protects entire communities, especially in places where access to healthcare is limited. But there's a catch. In very rare cases, the weakened virus in OPV can mutate and cause outbreaks of vaccine-derived poliovirus, CVD-PV, especially in areas with low vaccination coverage. That's why experts are working on new, safer versions of OPV to reduce this risk. Then there's the inactivated polio vaccine, or IPV. Unlike OPV, IPV is given as an injection, and it contains a completely killed virus, so there's absolutely no risk of it causing polio or mutating into CVD-PV. It's the safest option available. The downside? It doesn't create the same level of community immunity as OPV because it doesn't spread from person to person. Plus, it's more expensive and requires trained healthcare workers to give injections. In many countries, a combination of both vaccines is being used. OPV is great for stopping the spread of the virus, while IPV is used to ensure individual protection and eliminate any risk of vaccine-derived outbreaks. It's a balancing act, and health organizations are constantly reviewing their strategies to make sure they're using the right mix for each region. Now, let's talk about the hurdles we still face in getting polio vaccines to every child. While we've made incredible progress, there are some challenges that continue to stand in the way of full eradication. 1. Vaccine hesitancy. This is a big one. In some communities, people are hesitant or even outright resistant to vaccines. There are a lot of myths and misinformation floating around. Things like vaccines cause infertility or they're part of some political agenda. These rumors can spread quickly and cause parents to refuse vaccination for their kids. Overcoming this requires building trust, engaging with local leaders, and educating communities about the safety and importance of vaccines. 2. Conflict and political instability. In regions like Afghanistan and Pakistan, ongoing conflicts make it incredibly hard to run vaccination campaigns. Healthcare workers sometimes face threats or violence, and there are areas that are completely inaccessible because of security concerns. It's heartbreaking because these are the places where polio is most likely to persist, and reaching children in these areas is critical for eradication. 3. Accessibility in remote areas. Even in peaceful regions, there are logistical challenges. Imagine trying to deliver vaccines to remote villages in mountainous regions or deep within dense forests. Some areas lack proper roads, and others are separated by rivers or deserts. Ensuring vaccines are delivered and kept cold until they're administered requires significant resources and planning. 4. Funding shortages. Eradicating polio is expensive, and maintaining vaccination campaigns requires ongoing funding. The world has come so close to ending polio, but it's not a one-time investment. Continued funding is needed for surveillance, vaccine delivery, and responding to outbreaks. Any lapse in funding could allow the virus to resurge, undoing decades of progress. 5. Emergence of vaccine-derived polio. As I mentioned earlier, vaccine-directed poliovirus, CVD-PV, is becoming a challenge, especially in areas where immunization coverage is low. It's a reminder that we can't afford to let our guard down. High vaccination rates are essential not just to stop wild polio, but also to prevent these outbreaks. 6. The final stretch is the hardest. Ironically, the closer we get to eradicating polio, the harder the job becomes. Why? Because the remaining cases are in the most challenging areas, places with the toughest conditions and the most resistance. It's like climbing a mountain. The last few steps to the summit are often the steepest and most difficult. Despite all these challenges, there's a lot of hope. Global health organizations aren't giving up. They're developing new tools, engaging with communities, and finding innovative ways to overcome these obstacles. The lesson here? Eradicating polio is not just about vaccines. It's about collaboration, persistence, and the belief that no child, anywhere in the world, should ever have to suffer from this preventable disease. Ongoing efforts? Polio eradication is within reach, but it demands sustained effort, constant innovation, and unwavering global collaboration. The mission isn't just to eliminate wild poliovirus. It's to put an end to vaccine-direct outbreaks as well, through comprehensive and strategic immunization programs. As we approach the final stages of this fight, vigilance is more important than ever. We cannot afford to let our guard down and risk undoing decades of hard work. The success of global polio vaccination campaigns is a testament to the power of collective action in public health. Together, we've shown that when the world unites around a common goal, incredible progress is possible. By continuing to invest in these efforts and spreading awareness, we're moving closer to achieving the ultimate vision, a polio-free future for everyone. Alaria Jr. member and his family attended the award ceremony the following day. Before you go, I'd love for you to show your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps us continue sharing important stories like this and spreading awareness about critical health issues. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. And if you found this content valuable, drop a comment to let us know. Together, we can help make a difference. Thank you for watching, and let's work toward a healthier, brighter future, one step at a time.